deck aims to utilize Origin Form Palkia V-Star for the most part, but he also has that thin Greninja EX line as an attacking option. Due to the prize cards going out, XANDER prizing one of each energy type, 3 different energy in this list. And Ian Robb with the 1 Blood Moon Ursaluna, the 1 Mew EX on the prize card.
Really unfortunate to prize that Klefki. You talked about it earlier, Chip, how important it is for Klefki in these sorts of matchups to just shut down the Ogre pawns and keep these Raging Bolt decks under control. But if you're forced to just go pound for pound, blow for blow into these decks, perhaps Palkia might fall a bit far behind, but there is still the hope of Hisui and Heavy Ball.
Yeah, there is one Hisui and Heavy Ball, so that's what Ian Robb's going to have to be looking for here. Klefki would be super good, and I have to imagine this is one of the main reasons you would play it in the deck is for this matchup specifically. Here we go. Our players are getting into this game, and it looks like Ian Robb is going to kick things off.
Duskull in the active across from Teal Mask, Ogre Pawn. Ian Robb using Ultra Ball to kick things off. You discard 2 cards from your hand in order to search your deck for any Pokemon. Iono also being given up to the Ultra Ball. The rest of the hand must be gas.
Yeah, he's probably got some pretty good cards to work with. And with getting rid of the Iono, you have to assume that there is a follow-up supporter for the next turn, or he's just accepted that he's going to discard this hand with a Squawkabilly EX. We'll have to see what he grabs off of this Ultra Ball on this first turn of the game. He definitely would like to get an Origin Form Palkia V established. He'd love to get down a Froakie so he can threaten the Greninja on the second turn of the game. And speaking of Greninja, Radiant Greninja also is an excellent option in order to get some extra cards drawn with concealed cards, but it can also be a really good attacking option in certain matchups. This one, not so much, but not surprised to see Froakie being one of the first grabs.
Yeah, grab the Froakie with Greninja EX. Just discard that if you'd like. Finding Palkia V. Already a lot of thinning going on by Ian Robb. Get Palkia V down. You have that threat of turn 2 evolve into Palkia V-Star, Star Portal to attach some water energies. Because it only attacks for 2 energy, right, Chip? You get this, this tempo that a lot of decks really can't keep up with sometimes if they're trying to play a slower strategy.
One of my favorite things about watching Ian Robb play is how clean and how fast he plays the game. You know, he doesn't take too much unnecessary time through any actions. He's flying through the deck. We already see that Squawk and Seize. And he actually chose to discard the Froakie, recognizing that maybe it's not that good in this matchup specifically. A Pokemon he's happy to discard there off the Ultra Ball.
Yeah, very clean. Puts down the Pokestop into the Squawkabilly to just seize with an empty hand, just draw 6 cards. Finds Buddy Buddy Poffin to search the deck for 2 more basic Pokemon. Picks up more Duskulls. Already, you can see a sort of macro game plan from Ian Robb. Wants to have tons of Duskulls in play, so you have that threat of Rare Candy, Dust Noir, Night Stretcher, Dust Noir to take down multi-prize turns. Pokestop offering up a Rare Candy, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Rare Candy plus the Night Stretcher equals Rare Candy Dusk Noir. Next turn, he's already got one in the discard pile. An attachment will be down to the Origin Form Palkia V. And now it's over to XANDER Perot, who's going to want to try to get his own board established. Oftentimes with this Raging Bolt deck, you're just looking to attack on turn 1 as quickly as possible. And I think a great target, if he can find all the pieces, would of course be the Origin Form Palkia V on Ian Robb's bench. This
is a very strong but nebulous setup from Ian Robb, right? The potential for that turn 2 explosiveness with the evolution into Dust Noir, augmenting damage, taking out your opponent's support Pokemon, with Palkia V potentially being able to strike the active, is how this deck wants to operate. And when we combine that with XANDER Perot, who also wants to get established and begin attacking, it becomes a little awkward when you're forced to start swinging down into these single prize Pokemon in the early game. But after the Earthen Vessel, discards 1 fighting energy, finds 2 others. Nest Ball maybe grabbing a second Ogre Pawn, but no, picks up Raging Bolt instead. We get an attach for turn. I don't think there was a Professor Sawdust in the hand as of yet.
And that is the card that really activates this entire deck. It's your draw engine, and it's also your energy acceleration, that Ancient Supporter allowing you to do both of those things all at once. He looks like he has a few Pokegear in the hand, and Trekking Shoes will hope to find something a little bit more helpful here.
And is there a difference between going for Trekking Shoes first, Pokestop first, doing some thinning?
It kind of depends what you want more of. Using Pokestop is always a little nefarious, a little risky. Whenever you've got a bunch of Professor Sada in your deck, you never want to mill them. He's looking for one here off this Pokegear. Last card.
Wow.
Doesn't find it.
Off of Trekking Shoes, off of Pokestop, into Pokegear. No Professor Sada's Vitality in those top very thick slice of the deck. So without that energy acceleration, Xander Pro is going to be a step behind. If this is his only board remaining going into Ian Robb's turn, there's a chance for double Dust Noir and plus a punch to take down Ogerpon, and that'll be all she wrote.
Yeah, Ian does it, or excuse me, Xander does at least have a supporter in hand. It looks like it is the Iono. Normally something you want to save for the end of the game and try to slow your opponent down, make a little bit of a comeback when you have a slower start like the one we're seeing here. But he's going to be forced to use it now. He did not have much else going on in the hand.
Picking up the Bravery Charm for the Raging Bolt is also great. Means that double Dust Noir won't knock it out. Trying to get some resiliency to keep an attacker in play. And who knows, off of Iono, with just drawing 6 cards at the beginning of the game, is there a Nest Ball, get another Ogerpon, Professor Sada's Vitality for next turn.
Yeah, I think we do see a Nest Ball, but there's no energy cards in the hand. So he could Nest Ball, go get Greninja, and then Night Stretcher for an energy to draw a couple more. He's going to choose to just play it a little bit slower, pass things over to Ian. And this is a pretty big opening here. We'll see what Ian can do. It's going to be difficult to deal with this Raging Bolt. There's not a lot of Pokemon in play, so Palkia's attack's not going to be doing nearly as much damage as it potentially could.
That is true. Palkia V-Stars, a subspace swell is 60 base damage and then 20 for each benched Pokemon.
On both sides of the field, and so that's one thing with Xander, only putting one Pokemon in play and leaving this Bravery Charm on the Raging Bolt. It's going to be very difficult to deal with. But one of the things that helps you with some of those numbers when your opponent tries to limit their bench is the Dusknoir.
Rare Candy evolves into Dust Noir for the active spot, finds a Hisuian Heavy Ball. This can pick up Klefki, and if Ian Robb doesn't have such an explosive strategy for this turn to almost win outright, maybe you do just bench the Klefki, use Cursed Blast to knock out your own Dust Noir. You get to promote another Pokemon thereafter. Just put the Klefki in the active spot and see what you can do from there.
Now, it is actually perfect math with a Dusknoir to be able to knock out the Raging Bolt with 5 total benched Pokemon in play. If Ian got just one more benched Pokemon, he'd be able to Cursed Blast into Subspace Swell, knocking out the Raging Bolt. Looks like he did not quite have all those options and just is forced to Curse Blast the active. Xander does get a prize card for that.
And I don't think Ian Robb has used the Pokestop yet. Could maybe dig just a little bit more, look for Counter Catcher or Prime Catcher to bring up this Raging Bolt.
It's going to be a little harder now that this Palkia has been sent to the active spot. He'd have to use another Dusknoir. It is actually technically possible for Ian to win the game this turn. It would be pretty unlikely. It would involve using all 3 Dusknoir. He had 3 Duskull in play, so if he can Dusknoir this active Ogerpon twice and then fill his bench up and attack with Palkia and then Dusknoir the Raging Bolt, again, that's exact math, 290 to take the knockout and just win this game.
And with all of this, Ian Robb plays Iono. Still, after all of our speculation around the Dusknoir, does still need to find a Palkia V-Star to evolve now.
Yeah, it looks like the hand wasn't quite strong enough to piece anything near like what I was speaking of together.
And after that Iono, that means that Xander Perot's losing out on that Professor Sada's Vitality that was in the hand. Picks up an Ultra Ball in this new hand, discarding an Earthen Vessel and a Pokestop to get Origin Form Palkia V-Star. If there's not another energy in hand, it was attached to Ursaluna, actually. This means that Ian Robb can just use Star Portal to get some water energy out of the discard pile and attach to the rest of the board.
We are going to see the
water
Star
energy?
Portal utilized, a couple of water energy in the discard pile.
Okay, so that's going to be 1 on the active Origin Form Palkia V-Star, and just takes the knockout with Subspace Swell. Getting rid of that draw power is beautiful. Just a Raging Bolt in the active spot. Whenever you think you've got the upper hand on Raging Bolt, however, you know, Pheasantipity comes through, draws 3 more cards, but Xander Peros is going to do a bit of thinning first. Earthen Vessel discards a basic fighting energy to get 2 more out of the deck.
Yeah, I think Xander is okay with this spot. Obviously, Ian's taken the first 2 prize cards, so he's got the lead, but it's not by too terribly much. Xander did get awarded a prize card for that Dusknoir KO, so if he can piece together the knockout here on this active Origin Form Palkia V-Star, he would need to get 4 energy cards in play in order to achieve that. You know, he'll be ahead 3 prize cards to 4, and then if he can limit his bench enough, it's possible Ian, you know, I guess he's going to be leaning on this Blood Moon Ursaluna, and the fact that Xander now has this Bravery Charm attached to the active, I think he's feeling okay.
Ian's Pokestop is also giving XANDER a lot of help, just thinning down through the deck. Trekking Shoes to take another look.
Needs
Doesn't
a
want the
Sada.
Pokemon Catcher. Radiant Greninja can help out here, though.
That's really the missing piece here at this point, is the Sada.
Nest Ball. I love the way that these players, they're always pulling as many cards out of the deck as they can, so when you eventually sequence to start going for your card draw, you hopefully draw into the supporters and the other missing pieces that you require. Pheasantipity picked up off of the Nest Ball that was gained from Pokestop. Flip the Script is active, its ability. If one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn, then you can draw 3 cards.
Yeah, and while Pheasantipity is really, really strong, the problem with all of these solid support Pokemon that XANDER has is that they have low HP, and they can be knocked out very easily by something like the Blood Moon Ursaluna over on Ian's side.
And with 1 energy attached to it, Ian is ready for XANDER to swing in and potentially activate that Blood Moon attack. And you can even force your opponent to take even more prize cards with Dusknoir so that the Seasoned Skill ability is active way earlier than your opponent can anticipate.
Looks like we're having a discussion at the table with the judges. Something between the players. Looks like we're having another technical issue with the players losing their white noise. So hopefully we'll get that sorted out shortly.
Yeah, I don't think I was...
I'm glad they mentioned that, because I was just about to mention something about XANDER's list, so I will not do that now.
But the Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, this is a card that typically tends to lurk within the deck or even the discard pile for most of the game, and then come out as this surprise attacker later on in the game. The fact that ROBB has the wits to put it in play immediately, start powering it up, means that you can see the pressure, right, Chip, where this deck has so much potential threat and is attacking you from so many angles simultaneously, whereas Raging Bolt, its specialty is getting established and punching straight through.
Yeah, Raging Bolt, much more, just drawing from the top, playing from your board. You want to have a ton of energy cards in play. The Origin Form Palkia V-Star has a lot more plays available. You can do a lot more unique and cool things. Dusknoir just enables so many different possibilities.
It's fascinating as well because Raging Bolt, using Pheasantipity, using the Radiant Greninja, things of that nature, you're able to draw out of disruption like Iono. That used to be the main way that players would shut down these aggressive decks. In the mid-late game, you take your big knockout, put them down to 1 or 2 prize cards remaining, and go from there.
Looks like we are back into the game. Our players are continuing to draw through. XANDER just used the Flip the Script, and I think I do finally see a Professor Sada's Vitality.
Double checking the discard pile.
Lots of energy cards in there.
So there's only an Iono played, right? No Professor Sada's got milled from the Pokestop. Second Raging Bolt also being found. And Professor Sada, this is great as well. Not having 2 ancient Pokemon in play means you get 2 energy attachments with Professor Sada, and then you get to draw 3 cards from the top of your deck.
Now, one interesting thing about XANDER's list here, which definitely deviates from the norm of these Raging Bolt lists, is he is playing 4 copies of the Bravery Charm, really valuing in this current format the ability to raise the hit points of his Pokemon in play. And that is a way that he could ensure something like Pheasantipity EX or the Teal Mask Ogerpon EX on his bench is not KO'd by a Blood Moon from ROBB. Now, the issue is that he need to find all 3 remaining Bravery Charm in this spot, since all 3 of the Pokemon on the bench could be KO'd by Blood Moon, so it's going to be a little difficult.
Yeah, there's always been a debate around the Bravery Charms in this list because they're incredibly useful, but no way to search them out. And we're just relying on pure draw power to get there. Pal Pad, however, is another item played by XANDER Pro. There's only 1 Professor Sada's Vitality to shuffle into the deck, which looks pretty thin, not too shabby.
Yeah.
Ups the odds for a nice draw to get it back, or even off of Pokegear.
Chooses not to use the Pal Pad to get back the Iono. I think he recognizes it's pretty unlikely he's going to be able to play Iono. In order to keep up in this game, he's probably going to need to use a Sada every single turn for the rest of the game.
Shuffling the Pokemon around. Looks like he's going to bench 1 more thing. What would you like to see here, Chip? Maybe another Ogerpon?
He's got the Greninja. That is an option. The Greninja would just be freely KO'd by a Cursed Blast from a Dusknoir, but I don't think you mind that too much. I don't think Ian would really want to take a single prize card knockout.
Thinking about discarding the boss's orders, yeah, and Switch Cart.
The Switch Cart's really strong against the Dragapult decks in the format. not as good right now. In this specific matchup, Ian's probably going to be not leaving too much damage in play. When he's using Dusknoir, it's usually going to be on the Pokemon he is KOing, or he'll be using multiple Dusknoir to KO multiple, or one Pokemon with multiple Curse Blasts.
And seeing the utility that Xander Perot is demonstrating with the Raging Bolt deck is very cool. This deck has gotten a reputation for being just very straightforward, very one note, but there is a lot of utility with the build to help some of these bad matchups that you're starting to see nowadays.
We are going to see Raging Bolt taking the KO. 4 energy cards must be discarded here to get to the 280 damage with this Bellowing Thunder of the Raging Bolt EX. Now, the question is, where does Xander want to leave the energy? And I think the active is a fine place to leave it. That's the most protected Raging Bolt with that Bravery Charm. Now it's over to Ian, who actually could win the game this turn. And that is a really good start, finding a Rare Candy and a Night Stretcher. If we see a double Cursed Blast onto an Ogerpon, and then like a Boss's Orders our Prime Catcher to bring up one of these low HP Pokemon on the bench, Blood Moon Ursaluna can just win the game right now.
With the double Curse Blast that turns on Counter Catcher as well. Pheasantipity was found with Nest Ball put on the bench. Flip the Script is used to draw 3 more from the top. Concealed cards, no.
Yeah, is the concealed cards drawing 2 more.
Concealed cards to draw 2 more.
Yeah, is piecing everything together. He's got quite a lot of cards in hand.
The Rare Candy's already there. Night Stretcher to get Dusknoir back. There's 4 copies of Night Stretcher in the deck. 2, oh my goodness.
Both Dusknoirs being brought back. I think Ian's probably going to have the pieces here. Rare Candy, Dusknoir, Rare Candy into the other Dusknoir, and Prime Catcher on the Pheasantipity. Double Cursed Blast will KO the Ogerpon, and then Ian is able to Blood Moon KO Pheasantipity EX for a 4-prize turn. Ian ROBB takes game 1.
What a combo. That is the explosive power that this Palkia deck is known for. And Xander Perot got off to just a little bit of a stumbling start, and it gave Ian all the time to get this crazy Dusknoir combo established. Even with Palkia going down and no seemingly secondary attacker to take over, benching the Blood Moon ahead of time, having that 1 energy attachment makes this play possible. Thinking ahead and getting the win.
Yeah, that was huge from Ian. You can tell he has really tested this matchup. It actually looks like he's played against 4 Raging Bolt today thus far before this round. So, you know, he knows exactly what his lines are, what he needs to do to get a win.
And when you're playing Raging Bolt, you think, oh, is there a way for me to adjust my game plan to try to mitigate these Dusknoirs? And no, I'm afraid not. Raging Bolt is required to put these Ogerpons in play in order to accelerate additional energy for Bellowing Thunder and draw cards. After that first one, a Raging Bolt goes down, or even that first Ogerpon goes down, you've got to bring Pheasantipity into the mix to draw cards and keep up with your opponent. Keep finding Professor Sada's vitality.
Yeah, I think Xander saw his kind of potential in that game, you know, playing from a low board size, only having his highest HP Pokemon in play, utilizing the 4 Bravery Charm he has to their fullest effect, but he just wasn't quite able to make it happen in that last game. I'll be interested to see here if Xander chooses to go first or second. I think you could definitely make an argument for both, but it does appear he's chosen to go first, which I actually do like a lot.
Because if you let the Evolution deck go first, they're going to establish all the Duskulls, and then that explosive threat potential of Rare Candy, Dusknoir, Night Stretcher, too much to handle. But Ogerpon using Teal Dance right away to draw 1 card, Radiant Greninja to use concealed cards to draw 2 more, Trekking Shoes doesn't want the Iono draws again, finds Raging Bolt and an attached return with the Bravery Charm. Looks like a pretty solid foundation to me. The prizes don't look too detrimental from either side.
Yeah, I think Xander is totally fine with that turn 1. He didn't quite pop off maybe as much as he would have liked, but he's got the, you know, more than the bare minimum, I would say. He's got the Raging Bolt with an energy on it. He's got a Teal Mask Ogerpon to draw more cards next turn. And we're going to kick it over to Ian ROBB's turn now.
Earthen Vessel is the opener. Discards Froakie to get 2 water energies. I do feel bad for people in the audience, and myself included, who maybe wanted to see Greninja EX jump down for this game. But it's just a, you know, it's a plan C, plan D.
It's just not the matchup for it, really. You know, it's really good in some matchups, and it can be fine in this one as well. Cursed Blast plus the Greninja attacking can lead to 1-hit KOs on the 2 prize Pokemon on Xander's side, but it's just not quite as strong in this matchup as it is in some others.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, is that the saying?
Yeah, I think so.
But Mew EX also discarded with a Water Energy thanks to Pokestop. And normally this would be bad, but you need Water Energy in the discard pile for Star Portal. Ultra Ball extends this turn, discarding a switch and another Water Energy to find Squawkabilly EX.
We're going to see the Squawk and Seas 2 games in a row for Ian Robb and seeing it not at all for Xander Perot. We're definitely much more used to seeing Squawk and Seas come out from the Raging Bolt player, but it is just such a powerful card in this format in general. Really no surprise to see Ian is utilizing it as well.
Benched in Origin form Palkia V. Looks to be 2 or 3 more cards left in the hand before going for Squawk and Seas. Seems to be some hesitation here. Maybe our white noise cut out once more.
I think he's just thinking what he wants to do. He's got an energy card here. He's got Pheasantipity EX in his hand. I think he's debating does he want to bench that Pokemon. He's also got Blood Moon Ursaluna in his hand. So debating which other Pokemon can come into play. Does he want to attach this energy somewhere? Does he want
that
to
is
bench
tough.
Both of these Pokemon.
Because these are Pokemon that you love to bring back with Night Stretcher when the opportunity arises, but they're...
You need bench space for Duskulls for this deck to really function like it's meant to, and so Ian is going to have to give up on the Blood Moon Ursaluna here.
Yeah, keeps Pheasantipity EX, says, hey, if you're going to go through a bunch of hoops to bring this up and knock it out, then I get to keep my Duskulls and evolve those. I get to keep my Palkia V.
Xander was able to draw into Asada already, but he's going to need a little bit more here.
Yeah, the Squawk and Seas didn't yield much, so it is back over to Xander Perot. Another Teal Dance attaching to Ogerpon and a concealed cards to draw 2 more. A couple more Earthen Vessels in the hand to keep thinning. Get these energies out of the deck to increase your chances of getting Professor Sadas when you need it. I believe there is one in the hand as of yet. No, oh my God, I think it was just an Earthen Vessel.
Yeah, no, he does have Asada as well.
Okay.
So he's got that ready to go, but he's only got the one ancient Pokemon in play, and I think that's what he's kind of thinking through here. He's probably going to use Pokestop, I think, before he does anything else from this hand. He's already used Concealed Cards. He's already used the Teal Dance. He'd really like to get one more ancient Pokemon into play in order to get more value from the Professor Sada's Vitality, I think.
The energy attachments are so important for this deck, Chip, certainly. If you can get a double Professor Sada's this turn, then you don't need to get one perhaps later down the road when it's going to be much more difficult after you get Iono'd or some such.
I think the other thing that Xander's really going to be looking for here is a Prime Catcher, something he would have tried to do in game number 1, couldn't quite piece things together. But if this game looks totally different if Xander can turn 1 KO a Origin Form Palkia V.
Then Ian Robb has no attacker to truly respond. It's you don't have Star Portal to accelerate that attacker. And with Pokestop offering up the chances for 3 items, this could be it. Trekking Shoes gives him one more look.
Again.
You can see 2 more cards potentially from the top of the deck. And this is after so much energy already thinned out.
I think the main thing he wants here is an ancient Pokemon.
When it decided not to keep the Night Stretcher. What was that second card, though?
I think it was another Sada? No, Pokegear, which would find another Sada potentially, which is not what he needs. He's not going to be able to get full value here. He can go for the Sada still. He actually could. Ooh, something interesting here. He could. Oh, I don't think it quite works out. He discarded a switch card, I'm pretty sure, with an Earthen Vessel. If he had kept a switch cart around and could switch cart this active, he could use Pokegear here to look for the boss's orders that he plays as a one-of, and boss's orders could have been another way that he could knock out an Origin Form Palkia V.
And you can't just manually retreat the Ogerpon. You need a certain amount of energy in play to get this knockout.
4, yeah.
So very, very important. And there is Pokegear played after all. Boss's orders found.
Now, if he has another Ogerpon, he can still get one more energy card into play. I don't know if one has gotten milled on Pokestop. I'm pretty sure he has Night Stretcher in the hand, so there is a chance that if there's another Pokemon, he could maybe still get enough energy in play. He needs 4 energy in play in order to knock out the Origin Form Palkia V. He also could just Boss's Orders the Pheasant, or not the Pheasant, or I guess it could be the Pheasantipity. That would be pretty good here. It does have 210 HP. Takes 2 prizes, and it makes it so that Ian won't have access to using it on the next turn.
You are denying that potential card draw from Flip the Script, and you're forcing your opponent to already have these combo pieces in hand with the Dust Noirs, Rare Candies, Palkia V-Star.
You also could just attach an energy to the active and knock out this active Duskull. I think that would be, like, okay, to be honest. It does put you on the odd prizes, but it's not the end of the world in this matchup because your opponent is going to need to use another Dusknoir at some point anyway.
but decides to retreat. There's boss's orders for Fezandipity. Attach for turn onto Raging Bolt EX. Fezandipity enters the bench. And in order to knock out Fezandipity EX, Xander Pro has to discard all 3 energy that he has in play.
And he will do just that, taking the one-hit knockout. And what Xander is hoping to do here is hope that Ian cannot take 6 prizes in 2 turns, right? Because now Xander's kind of put on a clock. He's got the first 2 prizes. If he can just go 2-2 on the next 2 turns, he'll win the game. So Ian is going to feel a little bit of the pressure and need to find a way to piece together multiple KOs in this game.
And if you blinked, you missed it. Night Stretcher brought Fezandipity EX back from the discard pile. Flip the script to draw 3. Pokestop to get double trekking shoes and another item. This is going to be a lot of resources, a lot of dig. There is a rare candy in the hand. I quickly spotted their chip.
Yeah, I think I saw the Prime Catcher as well. That's a way you can get around the Bravery Charm on Xander's active Pokemon.
So many cards in hand. You have to double stack it.
He's really thinking through what this first card is off of Trekking Shoes. It is Radiant Greninja, which is going to hit the discard pile.
The Greninja is very cheeky to weave in, I think, if you have just a little bit more tempo in the game.
Yeah, it's not as super good as an attacker in this matchup specifically, but really just important for the draw power. But Ian has so many cards, so many options already in his deck.
At this point, you're forced to use Star Portal to get your attack with Palkia V-Star, so you can't use a Moonlight Shuriken to soften up a Raging Bolt for something down the road. Evolves into Dusclops.
Yeah, we don't see Dusclops quite as often as we see Dusknoir, but it's got the same ability, Cursed Blast.
Deals 50 damage.
Correct. A little bit weaker, but it can still help you activate things like Counter Catcher, which of course are already active in this exact instance, but it means you can get some extra damage in play without using a rare candy.
And you can see there's so many different ways to approach this current puzzle that Ian ROBB is trying to solve. Constantly consulting this huge hand, consulting the discard pile. Star Portal finally activated. You can take up to 3 water energy to attach them to your Pokemon. Just 2 going on to the Palkia V-Star and a Buddy Poffin to get another Pokemon to fill out this bench. Another Duskull is grabbed. So the chain of Dusknoirs are still being kept alive and well. Fezandipity was used. Pokestop's already been used, folks, with the Subspace Swell hitting for 220 plus the Dusclops. Nope, but he's going to keep that in play, use it for a combination a little bit down the road, perhaps.
Yeah, I think Ian's going to try to he's going to really need to take, I think, all 6 prize cards next turn, or just really put Xander in a tough spot maybe and hope that Xander whiffs an attack at some point. Because if Xander can attack this turn and then attack next turn, he'll just win the game, right? That's 2 prizes, 2 prizes. So
by not taking the knockout, you deny that those extra cards from Fezandipity flip the script. You saw that there's no energy in play currently, so it needs to be double Professor Sada's, has to be another Ogre Pawn found, and perhaps Xander just doesn't got it like that.
Yeah, Xander is going to need to find a way to get a lot of energy into play here. I mean, and things are set up for Ian to take a 6 prize turn. He's got the 3 Duskull, or 2 Duskull and 1 Dusclops. If he gets 3 Dusknoir, that's a KO on this active Pokemon that he just hit. That's a KO on an Ogre Pawn on the bench. And then he can use Blood Moon to close out the game.
A little bit of a risky gambit besides, because if Xander Pro is able to pull off the miracle, get a really big attack, goes down to 2 prize cards remaining, it means that your Duskulls, you can't use as many of them as you would like per turn. You're just giving your opponent too many prizes. So it would be a maximum cap of 1 more Dusknoir and maybe Blood Moon Ursaluna coming in as that superhero in the 11th hour.
Looks like we're having another technical difficulty with some more white noise being cut out, but hopefully it'll be fixed very, very soon. One other thing that this attack from Ian does do is by not taking a KO, he's not activating Flip the Script, right? So that's not going to be 3 extra cards that Xander gets to draw.
Pokestop does grab a Pokemon Catcher, and Xander Pro opted to bring up the Fezandipity the other turn to get an easier knockout. Pokemon Catcher with the heads could bring up Squawkabilly. It's a horse apiece, though. You need to discard 3 energy, but the difference between 3 and 4 energy is pretty big, considering when you look at Bellowing Thunder, what you need to do additionally to get that many energy in play.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think Xander had potential here if he could have gotten all 4 of his Bravery Charm, which is not super high odds. But if he had a board that was just 2 Raging Bolts, one Ogerpon, and then the Pheasantipity, he could potentially, you know, withstand the next turn from Ian Robb. But by putting this other Ogerpon in play, he's probably going to have to put another Raging Bolt into play just to get energy cards out with this incoming Sada. Now there's guaranteed to be a target for Ian Robb to go for a knockout on with the double Curse Blast.
And there's just too many weaknesses, and that's what Ian Robb's deck is trying to exploit. You can't protect all of your Pokemon. Dusknoir is going to find that sneaky angle to try and get a knockout where you least expect it. But because of the extension that Xander Bro has gone for, with 2 Ogerpons entering play, both Teal Dances used, Professor Sada finding 2 ancient Pokemon to attach to, and then 1 more energy attached to the active, this will be enough energy in play with Bellowing Thunder to knock out the Origin form Palkia V-Star.
Yeah, just needs the 1 more lightning energy to fulfill the attack requirement, which I actually don't think he has just yet. He's going to need to find a way to get it. Or has the Sada, I guess, right? We haven't seen Sada. Or did we see Sada be played?
Yeah, Sada
was played. So that has been used. We have to find either an energy retrieval or a Night Stretcher. I don't think I see it.
Oh, no.
I think he's missed the attack this turn, and that is really, really bad.
Oh, my goodness. Ian Robb just took the hit, didn't want to activate Pheasantipity, lowering those resources just enough.
Wow. That's wild. Xander saw so many cards that turn. I cannot believe he did not find a Night Stretcher or Pokemon energy retrieval. Like, there's so many things he could have found.
Tails on Pokemon Catcher, goes for another one, gets heads. What do you bring up? Squawkabilly, okay.
And we're probably just going to see the Burst Roar, discard the hand, draw 6 cards, cross his fingers that Ian...
And this wasn't a missed sequence with the Sadas where you should have attached Lightning. It was just that you don't have any way to get one or the other.
Yeah, he didn't have a way to get a Fighting or a Lightning. Didn't matter. And yes, sure enough, Burst Roar, discard the hand, drawing 6 cards. Now, Ian could win this turn, but now he doesn't have to win this turn anymore. Xander missing an attack here gives Ian 2 turns to pull off this massive play.
But Ian opens up with Pokestop, discards a Dusknoir, maybe get that back with a Night Stretcher if the rest of the combo pieces are there. The hand was not disrupted, of course. So I'm seeing a Prime Catcher, 1 Night Stretcher. He's looking through the hand so quickly, Chip, evaluating the resources, already piecing together a big combo.
Yeah.
And I think he might have taken that as a challenge. Oh, you don't think I need to win this turn? Might as well pop off and take a 6 prizer.
Yeah, he doesn't have to, but that doesn't mean he can't. He definitely could win this turn.
So first things first, going to be Night Stretcher for Dusknoir.
And one of the nice things about putting the Dusclops in play last turn is you can just evolve into Dusknoir. Now you don't need to use a rare candy in order to get that extra evolution piece. Looks like he's got Prime Catcher, so he has his choice of what he would like to KO here. He also has an energy, so worst case scenario, he could attach Retreat and still get a knockout and just leave his board set up as it is.
And I know a lot of viewers in the audience right now who have been really playing this Origin form Palkia deck with the Dusknoirs, or any Dusknoir deck in general, have already calculated a bunch of different lines and combos that can win the game here. And I'm thinking,
it involves using 3 Dusknoir to win the game this turn. And then also benching enough Pokemon that Palkia can knock something out. That could be probably part of the issue here.
First things first. Ogerpon comes up due to Prime Catcher. That also allows Ian Robb to promote Palkia back into the active spot. It's going to be an Iono.
2 Night Stretcher plus a rare candy is game.
Let's see it then. Has already used the Pokestop. Has not used, doesn't have access to flip the script, of course. Hisuian Heavy Ball just checking these prize cards, getting it out of the hand. 1 Dusknoir would need to go onto the Raging Bolt EX to get the knockout there, and that's 2 prizes.
Yeah, it might not quite would be there for game because you would have to be able to refill your bench, right? You need to put a bunch more Pokemon in play, and then also your opponent's Pokemon are being removed from play, so Subspace Swell is going to be weakened quite a bit.
But 2 prize cards taken now with the first Curse Blast. Xander Pro also gets a prize.
Now, Ian did take a rare candy off of that prize, so he can now rare candy into another Dusknoir.
Opens up a bench spot for Blood Moon Ursaluna Luna EX plus an energy attached for turn.
Yeah, and I think this is totally fine here. Just attach for turn to the Blood Moon. You can attack the active. This is fine too, just like hold everything else. You have 2 prizes left, your opponent has 4. You are in just such a good spot here now as Ian Robb.
And yeah, not being greedy. recognizing I can set up a pseudo combo and just have so much pressure. I've got this beautiful Pokemon in the active spot in Palkia that can attack. Blood Moon Ursaluna ready to take over. If you take any prizes, it's just one energy attach and you're off to the races. Dusknoir already established, and Xander Perot can't jump through the hoops to gust up a Dusknoir and knock it out with so many threats in play. Looking now through the hand, has Bravery Charms a little bit too late. There's a Trekking Shoes as well.
Has that Lightning Energy a little too late as well.
And because of the knockouts, you know, Flip the Script, of course, is going to be active once Xander is done thinning down.
Yeah, really just a tough break for Xander in this one. Missing that attack last turn. I think he probably would have been in a good spot to win this game. Would have put so much pressure on Ian to try to find everything last turn. Ian did, to be fair, get kind of close because that Blood Moon Ursaluna could take the last knockout, right, regardless of how many benched Pokemon are in play. But
yeah, Xander Perot had the right idea. You see with the deck build, with all these Bravery Charms.
This is pretty good here. This could be what Xander needs to hang on. Of course, Cursed Blast does kind of mess with all of the potential ways that Xander could hold on. He's just going to swing for the knockout, go down with some dignity. And I think as long as Ian ROBB has an energy card, he should be good to close this one out.
Yeah, and I believe he showed it. He was considering attaching it last turn, but has the Water Energy in hand with Xander Perot down to one prize card remaining.
Oh, yeah, Xander only has one prize card remaining, so this is actually interesting here because now Ian cannot use the Curse Blast. Yeah, with I think our counter did not quite get updated there because, yeah, Ian using, he can't use too many Curse Blasts because then Xander just wins the game on the spot.
So it was good that he, you know, hesitated that last turn, not using that other Curse
Yeah,
Blast.
Ian's way more aware and ahead of all those things. He's debating here what to send up. He doesn't have an immediate win condition because Blood Moon Ursaluna can't knock anything out.
Very impressive. Yeah, even the Bravery Charm on the Vezendipity. There's no Flip the Script angle. Vezendipity is promoted for Ian ROBB, however. Ultra Ball to discard, Earthen Vessel. And what is that second card, by the way?
That is a Professor's Research, the Professor Willow Professor's Research. That was a exclusive promo card you got for ordering something on the Pokemon Center when the Pokemon Go mini set came out.
Okay.
You didn't know that, Skarzig?
No, I've never seen that card be played.
It's not very often played. It actually has a code on it that you could redeem
I
in
saw
Pokemon
the little
Go.
white box there.
Yeah.
You can see a little peek. I was like, wait, what is that?
It has a code you can redeem on it to get like a special research task in Pokemon Go, I'm pretty sure.
And Ian ROBB is getting rid of it with the Ultra Ball.
Disgraceful.
Uses Pokestop here. Picks up another Ultra Ball and the rare candy. But without Dusknoir being a valid play, you can see how it really puts the brakes on this deck. And with Origin Form Palkia knocked out, there's not a really great attacker here.
Yeah, I don't know what the move is here from Ian. I mean, there's a chance Xander just doesn't have it. Ian may just need to like go for a hit into the active, but I don't even know what he would hit with is the issue. If you attack with Blood Moon, it can't attack 2 turns in a row. Ian would need to find like...
Yeah, there's only one switch.
card
The
plus
Prime
boss
Catcher
or
was already
something.
used.
This deck typically doesn't even play boss's orders, so that's not even an option. We see another Professor's Research, Professor Willow, hitting the discard pile.
And this is where Greninja EX would maybe be a fine play. Has high HP, can attack with just 1 energy.
It also hits Vezendipity EX for weakness.
Oh, that's right. But
he does have the Greninja in hand, and he just drew into a Night Stretcher, so that could get back a Froakie. He's got Water Energy plus...
the Radiant in the rare candy was found from Pokestop if you want to go that line. But Xander Perot has already used both Pokemon catchers this game.
He's already used... I think Ian has also already used his Prime Catcher, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So he actually doesn't have a way to bring up the Vezendipity. That could be part of the issue here. I think what Ian's best play is going to be here is to just like... He's going to have to just hope Xander doesn't have it next turn. We're going to probably have to see a pass, but I think Greninja EX is probably going to be his path to victory just by being something that has a lot of HP that is difficult for Raging Bolt to get a 1-hit KO on. And he's going to have to 2-hit KO it. So, I mean, Ian's going to need multiple turns here in order to win this game.
Froakie, the, you know, who was discarded early on in Game 1 and in Game 2,
He says,
comes all the way back around. Look who came crawling back.
Yes,
Froakie coming back.
Put some respect on Froakie's name here.
Night Stretcher brings it back, so next turn Ian can evolve that with Rare Candy, but XANDER Perot's opening up with concealed cards to draw 2 more. Professor Sada's Vitality is there.
Big card. He has Night Stretcher. He can bring back another ancient Pokemon. I think he should have it all here. Night Stretcher brings back one of those Raging Bolt that's hit the discard pile through the course of this game, and Professor Sada can attach energy to both of them, and then all he needs is an attachment for turn to deal 210 damage to knock out the active Pheasantipity EX.
Draws the whole deck. There is Prime Catcher, and that is going to be Game 2 going to XANDER Perot. Had the cards after all. The Bravery Charms doing their job to hold Ian ROBB back from taking that final KO with Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Yeah, I think a lot of the really good players who chose to play Raging Bolt to the tournament this weekend were leaning heavy into Bravery Charm for the tournament, recognizing how valuable it is, how much of the math it can help fix. One of the main strategies for multiple other decks out in the metagame is to target down your weaker support Pokemon while your Raging Bolt sits in the active with 240 to 290 HP. So if you can increase the hit points of your benched Pokemon as well, you give them no targets to try to close out the game.
And I can only imagine how much Bravery Charm affects the mirror match if you're anticipating Raging Bolt to continue to be as popular as it has been, and if you were curious on how a player playing Raging Bolt, a deck with a massive target on his back, is able to go 6-1, this is why. XANDER Perot has already begun editing the deck to account for shifts in the metagame.
Yeah, XANDER is someone who's known for having his own unique twists. He's also known for, building and piloting tons of crazy, wacky decks. I think one of my favorites over the years was his Naganadel Checkmate deck that he played to 2019 World Championships. He ended up winning the DC Open at that event, an event that took place adjacent to the World Championships during day number 2. So I have to say, based on that history, all the cool decks XANDER has played over the years, I'm a little disappointed to see that he's gone with Raging Bolt for this tournament. Pretty vanilla choice, but he's brought his own unique spice, the heavy Bravery Charm count, and it's definitely made a difference so far.
Somehow he has this underdog energy, but Ian ROBB is kicking us off with a Froakie in the active. Pokestomp into Buddy Poffin to grab Klefki, another Pokemon that we have not seen. It was in the prizes in game number 1, didn't show up in game number 2,
yep.
But this is the opportunity for it to really shine now that XANDER Perot is stuck with a Squawkabilly EX in the active spot.
Yeah, we're going to see exactly why Klefki is in the deck right now. It's going to totally shut down XANDER's turn, and he's going to have a slow setup now just naturally because of the Mischievous Lock.
This turns off Squawkabilly Squawk and Seize. You're seeing less cards turn 1. You can't use Teal Dance to draw more cards or to get extra energy accelerated into play. You have no access to flip the script later on in the game.
Can't even use Radiant Greninja on this first turn either. It turns everything off.
And Ian ROBB is going to make a massive adjustment now in game number 3. Going to set up 2 Palkia, recognizes how valuable that is, and switch into Klefki.
What a top deck there. The Prime Catcher, the absolute perfect card. I was about to start talking about how that's the one thing he'd like to find here. He's got a Trekking Shoes, he's got the Pokestop, but how about just top decking it for turn?
We just got a real match, folks.
Can bring one of those Palkia up from the bench, and now that is a huge opening for XANDER to potentially take a 2-prize lead in this game.
Trekking Shoes discards a Lightning Energy, picks up Nest Ball for a Raging Bolt. Ian ROBB doesn't even know what's about to hit him.
Yeah, that is the best possible thing XANDER could have found. Literally the best card. I cannot iterate that enough. And now he does still need a bit more here, but that is step 1. Being able to utilize Squawk and Seize now really makes such a big difference.
Yep, there's a Bravery Charm. Can go for Pokestop as well. Nest Ball and Trekking Shoes is the pickup.
Yeah, not so bad. Can use the Nest Ball to thin a Pokemon out, and then maybe go for the Trekking Shoes. I actually wouldn't have hated to see the Trekking Shoes first. I don't think XANDER would have minded drawing into a Pokemon here. He does still need to get a few Pokemon in play.
Has a Night Stretcher in hand. I wonder if XANDER is going to Night Stretcher that Ogerpon back right away. But benches Radiant Greninja and Prime Catcher to bring up Palkia and Raging Bolt into the active. Now with Earthen Vessel discarding a Pal Pad to pull 2 energy from the deck, already establishing the attach for turn, and no grass energy found. Wants to just re-discard the other one with Squawk and Seize before you start drawing with Ogerpons.
Yeah, I feel like we'll see a Lightning Energy. We'll see one of these energies probably attached to the active, and then we'll see Squawk and Seize. He'll probably get that Ogerpon into play with the Night Stretcher that you've called out, He's actually going to start it off with the concealed cards. I wouldn't have hated to see him leave that for the other end of Squawk and Seize, to be honest. He now kind of finds himself in an awkward spot where he has the Sada.
If you draw too many cards, your hand gets too good.
Yeah, he doesn't. He has Sada in his hand, which is the one card he wants, but now he doesn't have another Raging Bolt. He doesn't have 2 ancient Pokemon in play to accelerate to, so now we're seeing him kind of change things up. And with 2 Raging Bolts in the prize cards, there's actually only 1 left in the deck. He needs to find that one final Raging Bolt or another Nest Ball to get it out.
Trekking Shoes could deliver, get rid of the Grass Energy, and picks up Briar. This is going to get discarded, unfortunately. Night Stretcher does pick up Ogerpon, so this will be a Teal Dance. One more shot at getting that final Raging Bolt? No.
We don't see it just yet. Now you have to ask yourself the question, do I go for the Professor Sada right now, or do I Squawk and Seize and risk it? And it looks like the answer is to just settle for the Sada at the moment. And now drawing another Sada, he's going to feel a little apprehensive. Look how large this hand is. Can he really Squawk and Seize it away? I think the answer is going to be he has to.
In order to keep up your threat potential with everything riding on this Raging Bolt, you absolutely need to.
Okay, and he got what he needed here. He found an Ogerpon, and he found another Grass Energy card that he'll be able to use to draw with Teal Dance. He even found Raging Bolt for a future turn. But with 2 Sada in the discard pile and also that 1 Pal Pad, that's going to be the big thing to follow through the rest of this game. Can Xander play one of his 2 remaining Sada each of these next 2 turns?
But does get the 2 prize attack that Raging Bolt is so reliant on getting on your opening turn. Thank goodness for that Prime Catcher, and already it's over to Ian Robb. Less than 9 minutes left on the clock. These players are picking up the pace. Pokestop to get 3 items. Froakie is now in the active. There's only 1 Duskull on the bench. Earthen Vessel to discard Mew to pull 2 Water Energy from the deck.
It's kind of funny how often Pokestop in this Palkia Dusknoir deck just feels like it says draw 3 cards. There are so many item cards in this list, so it's just so often that you end up just adding 3 more cards to your hand. And then sometimes the things you discard, you don't even mind too much. I mean, this deck, like you mentioned, it plays 4 Night Stretcher. You don't really care if you discard any of your Pokemon.
Yeah, you discard the Dusknoir and say, this is a surprise tool that will help us later. Rare Candy onto the Froakie to become Greninja EX. With 1 energy attached for turn, we have Shinobi Blade beginning to set up some math, and the Professor's Research play to draw 7 more cards by Ian Robb. Another Duskull found, evolves into Dusclops as well. Shinobi Blade plus Dusclops is 220. Is there a way to bring up an Ogerpon to meet its fate?
I don't think so, because the 1 Prime Catcher is prized for Ian Robb, so he does not have access to any sort of play to take 2 prizes this turn. It's going to be a slower game plan here. Shinobi Blade, 170 damage, and now Ian gets to search the deck for any 1 card and add it to his hand.
And this is going to be 5 energy required if you want to get the 1-turn knockout. But
Pokestop, and it gets rid of one of the Sada. There's only 1 Sada left now for Xander Perot.
After there was so much pressure of the Klefki, Xander went into this awkward situation where the Squawkabilly had to discard a couple Professor Sadas, and even though things look good now, once this deck gets really thin chip, things could get dire. 2 Teal Dances being used to attach 2 Grass Energy from the hand to each Ogerpon, and you also get to draw a card for each. There's an Energy Retrieval in the hand, Trekking Shoes to dig a little bit deeper, Fighting Energy going to the discard pile. I didn't see what that... The Professor Sada's Vitality! Okay, he's him.
It is that last Professor Sada's Vitality, and this can lead to Xander getting a knockout here. Does need 5 energy cards in play in order to get to the 310 hit points on the Greninja EX. Now, the problem then becomes, where do you go from here?
Yeah, you can discard 5 energy to get your next 2 prizes, but the final 2 with no more Professor Sadas available, I don't even know if it's possible, Chip. Switch cart to heal a little bit of damage from the Raging Bolt EX to send up a new one. This has a Bravery Charm attached as well.
And that's a massive heal as well, the minus 30 from that switch cart, because it takes that Raging Bolt EX out of range of Cursed Blast from a Dusknoir, taking it out. I was actually wondering if Xander should just go for Motivate this turn, use Squawkabilly EX's attack and let that be the way he gets more energy cards into play.
Oh, yeah.
He may have to do that next turn as it stands.
Because right now there is 5 energy. You can knock out the Greninja EX, but Ian Robb retains an Origin Form Palkia V, a Dusclops, and a Duskull in play. So the return attack from Ian Robb is still very well established from here.
Yeah. I think this could be really big here. This Pokemon catcher, does he hit a heads? No.
Tails.
If he could find a heads there and take out the Palkia, he gets to keep some energy cards in play onto one of his Pokemon so that he can, in a future turn, just attach for turn and still get a knockout.
That was very frightening, but instead has to cash in all of that energy for a gigantic bellowing thunder to knock out Greninja EX and go down to 2 prize cards remaining. It's difficult to find these last 2 prize cards. There is a chance that Ian Robb might give Xander one more prize with a Cursed Blast. Even though you've put these attacks together, you are limiting the Dusk Noir counterplay.
Yeah, I really don't know what Xander does from here. He cannot attack. I don't think it's possible for him to use any attack in his entire deck next turn except for Motivate.
And he can't use that if he doesn't have another switch as well. But Dusk Noir is evolved from the Dusclops, so no rare candy needed there. Pokestop not being used as of yet. That's an Ultra Ball, discarding the Hisuian Heavy Ball and Pokestop to get Pheasantipity EX. Ian Robb can draw 3 more cards from here. Still has access to Star Portal now, so the attack on Palkia is guaranteed.
290 HP on this Raging Bolt EX, however, means that it's not really likely to be KO'd at this point. Ian does have Counter Catcher, which he could use to target something on the bench. He could go after that damaged Raging Bolt. I kind of like, if you're going to knock something out on the bench, just going after one of the Teal Mask Ogre Pawns, but it looks like Ian is actually not going to use Counter Catcher, just goes for Iono instead.
He's going to be able to use that pretty much at any point in this game. Is there a world where it's important to really just go for the Squawkabilly, though, to cut off Motivate and just say there's no way that you can attack me ever?
Ian's probably not too worried about the Motivate. I think if Xander does go for the Motivate, like, Ian doesn't want to cut him off from that. If Xander goes for the Motivate, it puts the Squawkabilly in the active, and I think Ian would be totally fine with that, trying to close out the game somehow from there.
And with Star Portal, puts 2 water energies into the active Palkia, and then 1 onto Klefki. Just going to do a little love tap onto the Raging Bolt EX in the actives. Now we've got 2 damaged 2 prize Pokemon chip to work with.
We see the Pokestop being used. It is able to draw 3 cards, and a big one is that energy retrieval.
Teal Dance to attach and draw. Teal Dance again to attach and draw. Remember, folks, this doesn't use your attachment for turn. You're just accelerating it using an ability. This is the attachment for turn. Lightning onto the active Raging Bolt EX. But with no Professor Sada's, I don't think there's a way to attack regardless.
Yeah, I think what Xander is probably thinking here is, for my opponent to win this game, probably at some point they're going to have to use Curse Blast. So I'm just going to make sure I can establish my Ogre Pawn as threats to close this game out. Either of them can attack those 1 prize Pokemon on the bench to try to close things out. I mean, Klefki only has 70 hit points.
And it looks like an Iono was played. Just to shuffle down. Xander Pro doesn't mind being on 2 prize cards.
Now, Xander does play Briar in his list, but he has already discarded it. I'm pretty sure he found it in that first turn where he drew a bunch of cards before using Squawkabilly. And, of course, with Palpad being gone, he can't find a way to use Briar to close out a 2 prize KO with an Ogre Pawn at some point in this game.
The Briar is great. You have to take the knockout with a Terra Pokemon, which would be Ogre Pawn EX, and it's rare that this deck leaves the energy in play, but it's just going to be back over to Ian Robb using the Pokestop to draw 3, as you put it, Chip. And there's still 2 prize cards remaining for Xander Perot, so Ian Robb has the wiggle room to still use 1 Dusk Noir somewhere in this turn, decides to just take the knockout. That lightning energy goes to the discard pile, and now Ogre Pawn steps up to the main stage.
And I think what Xander's win condition here at this point is going to be just to attack with this active Ogre Pawn into this Palkia, and then next turn attack with his other Ogre Pawn into this Palkia to try to close out the game from there.
Pokegear 3.0 is used. Still a lot of grass energy left in the deck. Boss's Orders picked up. Did that change anything, Chip?
Well, he may want to go after Duskull, a Pokemon that can't evolve out of range. It means now that by taking a 1 prize KO, you shut off Ian from ever being able to go from the Curse Blast. So taking out the Duskull seems decent because the Klefki will always be hanging around. The problem is that you only have the 1 boss. So I think just KOing this active, or hitting this active, seems pretty decent. There is the Pokemon Catcher, so if he flips heads on Pokemon Catcher, you could go after Duskull.
Another Pokegear being used as well. Xander getting a full look at the deck, knows what all the remaining resources are, and I think that might be the play that he does need to extend for chip is just having these Teal Mask Ogre Pawns set up one after the other.
Yeah, there's two classes here, two different ideas you could go after, right? You just two-hit KO this Palkia, or you try to Gust KO and then Gust KO on the next turn. And I think I like the option of just hitting this Palkia the best. You almost certainly force yourself to Gust on the next turn because Ian will more than likely just retreat the Palkia out of the active spot. I think the question is, how many energy does Xander have left? How many energy retrieval are there? We got a pretty decent look at the deck. I didn't quite catch how many energy retrieval there were left, though. We do see Night Stretcher can bring back one energy card.
And this is just the prophecy finally coming to fruition. It was a very awkward squawk and seize that Xander Perot kind of wiggled himself into, but the time has been called in the round. That means that Xander is turn 0 and is only going to get 2 more attacks now?
Yeah, I think that is going to be right. And he is going for the boss here. So Xander will be turn 0. Then Ian's turn 1, Xander's turn 2, Ian's turn 3. So this is...
Ooh, okay. I was wondering if you would bring up the Klefki, though, so that in case it's promoted, you still have access to your teal dances to get these energies in play.
Now, what did Xander take off of his prizes? It's something I would like to know. Is it a way to get some more energy cards? Okay, so it looks like time is going to be called during Ian's turn. Our timer a little different than the timer the judges have at the table, so Ian is going to be turn 0. An important distinction here.
Oh, yeah. Probably a few seconds of extension from when the white noise had cut out and we were kind of sitting and waiting for a second. So that does affect things. The judge will feed those timers to our production staff to update the timer for the audience at home. So that is a very important point indeed.
So Ian will be turn 0 here, unless he doesn't promote before time is called. That is one issue here. We'll have to get word exactly when time is actually called.
That might be what they're waiting for, just to make sure everyone is on the same page. Xander will take 1 prize and have 1 more prize card remaining. Ian ROBB does not have access to Cursed Blast any longer.
Yeah, so Xander was indeed turn 0 because time was called, I think, probably during that promotion period. So Ian is going to be turn number 1 here.
Very, very interesting. It still comes down to the fact that Xander needs to knock out 1 more Pokemon somehow. I think has 1 more Pokemon catcher in the hand, has already used his boss's orders, has no Pal Pad to get the boss's order back. And now Ian ROBB has the Ultra Ball, discards Rare Candy and Origin Form Palkia V-Star, just thin another Froakie out of the deck. Ian can try to bring up the Raging Bolt EX. That's a pretty easy knockout. It's just a matter of, with Ogerpon, right? Because of Myriad Leaf Shower, it deals damage based on, you know, how many energies are attached to both Pokemon. I think the Palkia is safe from it, certainly. The Raging Bolt is not going to be a threat whatsoever.
Yeah, this game could come down to a catcher flip for sure for Xander to try to close things out.
And Counter Catcher, this was a card that Ian had put back into the deck with Iono much earlier in the game, and now it comes back into his hand here towards the final stretches of this round 8.
Now, one thing about adding 4 Bravery Charm to your deck is you do have to make some cuts. You have to make some sacrifices, and I think one of the sacrifices Xander Perot made was to only play 1 switch card. So there is a chance that he doesn't have a way to move this Raging Bolt from the active spot.
Is Ian ROBB just going for the cheeky, this is stranded line now?
I mean, that would just almost certainly ensure a tie in this game, and I think these players are more than likely...
Oh, I thought that the deck was way thinner on Xander's side. I see it there now.
Yeah.
Into an Iono.
I do think time was called on Xander's turn. I just want to clarify things for people because Ian took a long time to promote, and I think that the reason he was doing that is because he knew time was called and he's thinking through exactly what he needs to do from here. You can see he's kind of in the blender at this moment. So I think Xander was likely turn 0 from the get-go, and Ian's just taking a moment to consider exactly what to do. And he is going to take the knockout here.
Yeah, it doesn't know the exact counts of gusts and things like that in the deck. After taking the knockout, 2 prize cards remaining for Ian ROBB.
I think it just comes down to this. Can Xander Perot find the Pokemon catcher, and can he flip heads? And I think he can find it. He almost draws his entire deck. He's got 3 from Pokestop, 3 from Flip the Script. I think there's 7 cards, so there, I guess, is a world where the bottom card of the deck could be Pokemon Catcher. So he's got to draw it, and he's got to flip a heads. And I think that might just literally be what this game comes down to.
And because of the Bravery Charms, there's only 1 boss, only 2 Pokemon Catcher. Now's the time to go.
Yeah, it's got to be this. You know,
he's running some numbers right now. What are the odds of me getting this? Do I even have it in the deck? There's Flip the Script.
I think he's thinking through, what do I do first? Is it Pokestop or is it Flip the Script? And he has the energy card as well, so he can guarantee draw everything in his deck now. And it just comes down to this, because Ian just took Prime Catcher off of his prize card. So Ian has Prime Catcher, and if he just has an energy, he can Blood Moon, KO, Pheasantipity, or Squawkabilly.
Teal Dance, and now Pokestop to see these final cards. There is a Pokemon Catcher in there.
And here it is.
It was the last card, too.
It was the last card, but he's able to draw everything thanks to the energy card he had remaining, and this is it. The game comes down to a flip here. Heads, and Xander wins, and it is the heads. Xander Perot moves to 7-1 here at Louisville.
Brings up any single prize of his choosing. Myriad Leaf Shower, taking the knockout there. Well, I think it has to be specifically Klefki, but that's just a technicality, folks.
Yeah, it did have to be.
Don't check my math.
Yeah, yeah.
We're just going to celebrate.